It's Star Wars time. Hey guys, how are you doing today? This is David Lucas back here. Welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on the very first episode, Chapter 1 of The Mandalorian, Disney Plus's original. Yes guys, the Disney Plus is finally out. The Mandalorian is finally out, well, the first episode at least, and I watched it about 3 times today, and I'm ready to give you guys my first impressions on it. Now, The Mandalorian stars Pedro Pascal as the lead, and is created by the great Jon Favreau, who wrote and is producing the show, which is leading a whole bunch of group of other amazing, talented directors who are directing a whole bunch of other episodes down the line. Now, I'm going to start out with some of the bad things about the show so far, or at least about the first episode so far, at least. And there's not really a lot. There's only a few things that I didn't really like. This was directed by Dave Filoni, who's directed and made a whole bunch of animated Star Wars shows, including the Clone Wars. He basically created the Clone Wars with George Lucas way back in the day, the TV show Clone Wars. And he also created the show Rebels, which was his own TV show, which I love. I love both the Clone Wars and Rebels. I think they're both amazing shows that don't get enough attention as they should because they're animated, but they are great shows, I think. And Dave Filoni basically created those two shows with the help of George Lucas on the Clone Wars. And this is Dave's very first venture into the live action territory, directing live action. This was his very first time. And with that, you can kind of tell. You can kind of tell that the first episode of this was directed by a first-time director. Some shots were kind of cut a little weird. I noticed some action scenes were a little bit, they weren't cut as you would expect a action scene to be cut by a professional director. Not saying that it was all bad, just some scenes were noticeable. And also that was very noticeable was the pace of this. I noticed that it was 40 minutes long. But for some reason, I watched it, and it felt really short. Like, it felt like it was maybe 25 minutes long. And that kind of makes sense, because when you go back to Dave Filoni, he's done 25-minute long episodes for the Clone Wars and Rebels. And this episode does feel like a 25-minute episode when it's really a 40-minute episode. And that has a lot to do with the pacing, and those are basically like the two things that kind of rubbed me off wrong about this at first. Now, other than those two things, this show was actually a great start to the series. I think it was a great start, and I am hooked. I am totally hooked. I really like the world building in this. We get a very good start to it. We start getting introduced to some new of the characters. Carl Weathers' character. And we get to introduce the Werner Herzog character, who I thought was really awesome. Werner Herzog in a Star Wars show or movie or show, anything Star Wars that he's in is just awesome. We get to introduce the Taika Waititi's IG-88 droid, which is really cool in it. I really like the characters that we were introduced here. I'm really hooked on the characters, and I'm hooked on the other character too that was introduced was Nick Nolte's character, who's really actually a pretty funny character. I thought he was a cool character. We didn't get really much of him, but we got really an introduction to him, and he seems to be a fan of the Mandalorians. He seems to have a lot of respect to the Mandalorians. He said he never met a Mandalorian before him, and he shows him a lot of respect, it seems. So it has me thinking that they're probably going to be friends throughout this series, and maybe they're going to partner up and team up with stuff. Maybe the Mandalorian's going to go to him for supplies or weapons or something. I feel like they're going to have a really good friendship throughout this show. Characters we were introduced so far, and I know there's going to probably be more characters that are going to get introduced somewhere down the line, probably in the next episode coming on Friday or other episodes then. But so far, I am really liking the characters we're getting introduced by, and I want to know more about them. I want to know more about Werner Herzog's character, how he was part of the Imperial military back in the day. I want to know more about Carl Weathers' character, Brief Cargus, I think his name. I want to know what his deal is, what his game is. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What's his deal? I want to know more. And it's really good for a first episode to give you that stuff to look forward to. I thought the atmosphere and the overall tone of the show feels like a straight up Western. Like I'm watching an old Western show, but in Star Wars universe. Everything, it was so nice and just a fresh take on it, and I really enjoyed it, but at the same time it was staying true to what the original Star Wars series looked like and the feeling of it, and it really felt like it was part of The New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It really felt like a continuation from that. And that is awesome, especially for 2019, for it to still feel like it's a movie that was made back then. It was awesome. Our lead, Pedro Pascal, he is great as his role, I think. I think he's gonna bring so much to this role. I really love how he looks in the armor. I love his voice. I love how he talks. I really like how he carries himself with the armor, how he walks, everything. He feels like a lone gunslinger. He looks like that, and he walks like that, and he carries himself like that, which is perfect because that's how they were describing this character, and he's completely showing us that, and he's completely pulling it off. I can't wait to see more of what he does with this character. I also thought the comedy with the guy in the beginning who the Mandalorian was taking, it really actually was good comedy. I felt like it felt to me like good old-fashioned Star Wars comedy. I don't know how everyone else thought of it, but to me, the comedy felt right. It didn't feel like The Last Jedi kind of comedy. It didn't feel like they were trying too hard to be funny. It just felt just right, and it was just the right amount with both two of those characters that I was like, okay, that's cool. We can have a little bit of comedy here, but the comedy didn't overshadow the cool grittiness of the show, which I like. We have very interesting character development with the Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian character. Get some flashbacks of him, and we see a little bit of his history. We see a little bit where he comes from. We don't see a lot. We don't get too much. We get a little snippets of where he comes from and who he might be. And this is really cool and really interesting, and I'm really hooked on it. I want to know more about him right now. I wish I could find out more about him right now, but I kind of like that I have to wait a little bit, which is cool. And I just think he's a really cool character, really interesting character, and I want to know more about him. I hope we get more flashbacks of him as a kid, know more of his childhood and his upbringing. That would be really cool to know. Because we kind of get that he's a badass. He's a true-on badass, and that he's not really necessarily your good guy. He's not your Luke Skywalker. He's more, he will do what he has to do. If he has to kill you, he'll kill you. If he doesn't want to kill, then he won't kill you. But something that I noticed about him is that he does have some kind of moral code. And I'm not sure what that moral code is just yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to find out later on throughout the series of what that moral code is and where he crosses the line of good and bad. And I really hope that we get more of that. I really like that big surprise at the ending. I'm not going to spoil the big surprise here, but there was a big surprise at the end that I thought paid off good, and it got me even more hooked from the start as I was, and now I'm even more hooked from I was because of that ending and where they left off at. Now, I just can't wait to see the next episode and see where they go off from this, because it was one of those endings where like, whoa! What does this mean? And that is awesome for a first episode to do that for you. As a whole, guys, I gotta say, The Mandalorian, Chapter 1, the first episode, is a great start to this series. I'm really hooked on it. I can't wait to see more of it. I can't wait to see more character development with the Mandalorian, know more about him, more about his heritage, more about just the Mandalorians in general. I can't wait to know more about the overall government and landscape of the galaxy, how the whole galaxy is right now. I want to know more about that, and I think that we are. I think that we're going to get a lot of that, and more characters are introduced, more awesome, cool characters introduced. I'm really looking forward to watching more of The Mandalorian. Let me know what you guys think. Did you see The Mandalorian yet? Do you have Disney Plus? Did you like The Mandalorian? Is this a step in the right direction for Star Wars in your opinion? Is it a step backwards in your opinion for Star Wars? Let me know. I always appreciate your guys' support that you guys have been giving me a lot lately. I appreciate all the comments. And I just love having conversations with you guys in the comments. So please, talk in the comments, have some conversation. Let's discuss about film. That's what I love doing. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later.